Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Breaking news! Vladimir Putin comes out and announces that he has 3 months left to live, and he's been a real jerk the last few years since he found out. He's withdrawing his troops from Ukraine and giving back Crimea, and says he wants to spend the end of his life listening to punk rock and going to American baseball and football games. Breaking news. Joe Biden comes out and says, absolutely, we love kiddos in that way. You've seen those videos of me sniffing children? You've seen Hunter's pictures. Someone clearly bad touched him. That's why he's constantly trying to prove how straight he is by taking pictures of himself with hookers. Come on, man. Breaking news. Breaking news. Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton have both sprouted leather wings and devil horns and are currently having an epic gargoyle fight above the reflecting pool near the Washington Monument. This is Shock Monkey Radio, and I'm your host, the Madman. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio, coming out with a splash. We're starting a little bit early today because, I got things to do. All right? You stick around. You're on my schedule. I got things to do later. I got to be somewhere at a certain time. Okay? So I'm doing the show early. It's my show. I'm going to do it my way. But thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I want you to show the like button your basement. Hey, EK, can I get a little bit of volume in the headphones? I would appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I want you to show the like button your basement. And then knock her out with a wrench or something like that. Strip off her clothes and put her in a cage for a few days with only a Kindle loaded with books only by Scott L. Robbins until she gives up the phone number of the subscribe button. Then let her make a panicked call to the subscribe button, but hang up only once she gives your address to the subscribe button. Now, this is very important. What you do next is very important. Immediately murder the like button, because obviously the subscribe button is going to call the bell icon to get the immediate notifications, because this is important. And then patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio gets involved, and then the Cash App gets involved, and the next thing you know, a SWAT team is busting down your door just as you're putting on the flayed skin of the like button, the subscribe button, the bell icon, your Patreon subscription, the Cash App transfers, and the Exit 13 pages. What? It's Halloween season. It's spooky time. You don't like horror? Please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, going to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Send me money on Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio.
Buffalo Bill Gates there.
Buffalo Bill Gates. I went Buffalo Bill Gates. Well, I think that's the title of the show, isn't it? EK with a winner. So I was looking at I appreciate you guys. A lot of people seem to like that Jordan B. Peterson video I put out last week. 170 views. That's on YouTube. That's no joke, considering the algorithm in this day and age. And so, I have more views on YouTube on that video than I do on BitChute, which is an oddity as well. So I appreciate you, watching it, liking it, share it, subscribe it, hit the bell icon, do all that fancy stuff I mentioned earlier. But I was looking at like where it ranked in terms of like videos, like most viewed videos of mine. And of course, number one is still the Nightwing sexy butt video, and that's pushing 6K views. And when I first made that video, I went and I downloaded a bunch of pictures of Nightwing's butt for the video, so I can explain what I was talking about in the video, about how I read all these Nightwing comic books, but apparently the artists were focusing on the butt, and I had no idea because I was just reading the story. I don't care about Nightwing's butt, so I never noticed that all this butt was looking at me. So I found a bunch of pictures on the internet, and I overlaid all these pictures on this video of me talking about it. And so now I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, are there a bunch of preteen kids watching my video, touching themselves? And because, thinking of my voice, maybe. It's like, if only Nightwing sounded like that. That's a sexy voice you got there, Nightwing. Ew. Anyway, it reminds me of an email I got. Can I see your feet? No. Anyway, so I got a couple of scripted things. And we'll get loose about it. And we'll go through the news. It's kind of a slow news day, so we'll coast through it. Started early, but that's okay. So I went to my favorite pizza place the other day. And you want to know something interesting? They don't take cards. They don't take checks. They are a cash-only business. How, you might ask? How is it possible they could still be in business in this day and age as a cash-only business? Well, first, I suggest you try out their pizza because it's worth the extra trip to the ATM. But make no mistake, I've been in there waiting for my order and some other customer finds out that they don't take cards and storms off. That customer might be pouting in their car thinking that this place is backwards and archaic, but I know that that customer is the backwards one. You might think I'm about to go on a rant here about pizza, and 9 times out of 10, you'd be right, in expecting me to launch into a tirade about how pineapples on pizza ruin it, which they do. But it's not the point I want to make today. I want to talk about the idea of a cashless society, which it seems that the world is heading towards. Those cards and checks are great for avoiding being robbed. Hey, you remember traveler's checks? Remember traveler's checks? They were like the fake. they were fake money that was harder for the banks to process, so they always got mad when you came in traveler's checks. And it gave people a false sense of security to the bearer. They were like tiny little bearer bonds in many ways, and they didn't even really solve any fraud issues. Anyway, keeping all your wealth in a bank might seem like a good idea until, I don't know, a pandemic happens, and everyone is told to stay home from work. There's no tellers at the bank to get your cash from. There's no one to restock the ATMs. There's no network security personnel at your bank watching the ones and zeros that represent your wealth. Oh no, I lost my place. Having seen what happens during a fake pandemic, you should be quite wary of keeping your money in a bank or in a Bitcoin. See, that's the whole point of a cashless society, so that the government can track every transaction and ensure that every single cent is taxed coming and going. That's why they are hiring more IRS agents, because more and more transactions are being logged every single second, and the government wants to keep their talons into every single transaction that they possibly can tax. Even the $9 steak and cheese sub you had for lunch. Some people say taxation is theft. I disagree, because some taxation is necessary for any government to function. But the way that they tax these days is definitely theft in some regards. I don't want to get into the details of it because I'm horrible at math. And let me ask you, I'll just ask the average Joe on the streets of America. Just go ask them, excuse me, sir, do you keep all of your receipts of every transaction you make? No? What's that? Sometimes the cashier throws it away without even asking if you want it. Now imagine that there's a real pandemic or solar flare or a nuclear war. And all of a sudden we're living in 1988 minus electricity. You got no internet to verify your PIN number at the ATM. No access to the, quote, money you have in your bank account. And all you have is the cold hard cash in your pocket and any easily negotiable property you own. For example, if a nuclear war happened right now, I'd have a picture of Lincoln, that's a $5 bill, about $20 in US coins, a collection of foreign currencies that I've collected over the years, a few old silver coins, and my comic book collection. I'll give you JLA 13 for these 2 MREs and 2 bottles of water. Oh, I'll be dead within a week. But do you get my point? Because there is no stopping the owners of banks from shutting their doors and jaunting off with our money if the shit really hits the fan. And with no electricity or internet, all your stocks, all your bonds, all your Bit and Doge coins, that is gone. And if you invest in precious metals by sending money to a company that keeps gold in your name, get the hell out of that and buy actual physical precious metals that you can keep with you in case of an emergency. Additionally, things like food, water, weapons, ammo, tools, all of these things, the value of these things skyrocket when the shit hits the fan. And I'll be there waiting in line with a long box of comic books to get a charge for my phone, watching neighborhood kids throwing my $300 Silver Age comic books at each other because I have been trading them all month for basic supplies, and these jerks just hand them to their kids because there's no TV anymore. My nightmare dystopia is tailored to me, obviously. So in closing, a cashless society is a bad idea, and we should never, ever get to that point. Whew. Let's lighten it up. I know I got a little ranty there, because if the nuclear war comes, it's going to be real hard to find good pizza, and I think that's my number one concern. It's my number one concern. No more pizza. I don't know if life's really worth living. You're just running around trying to collect Nuka-Cola and Radaway. I don't know. Doesn't sound like much of a life. But let's try to lighten the mood. I want to talk about some English phrases, because I heard some people use some words lately, and I was like, oh yeah. I kind of wanted to tell them where these words and phrases come from, because I find it interesting. I find where English phrases come from is interesting. So I want to talk about one of the words I heard this week that I wanted to talk about, and that's druthers. Have you ever heard druthers, the word druthers? I probably talked about these things before, but someone said if I had my druthers, I'd do this or I'd do that. And that's what druthers means. It means I'd rather. It's I think it was coined by Mark Twain. I'm not sure. And it's based upon a Southern expression. It was like, hey, you want to go to this Grateful Dead concert with me? And it's like, I'd rather eat cat shit with a knitting needle than go to Grateful Dead concert with you. Sorry, Deadheads. I'm making fun of some people I know. But what I'm saying is that, it means I would rather, So if I had my druthers, if I'd had my I'd rathers, I'd rather eat cat shit with a knitting needle, son, than go to a Grateful Dead concert with you. You ever seen that movie, Dead Presidents? God. That dude, he does his voice a lot on Rick and Morty now. But he was in that movie. He had a great line in that movie that I loved. It was like, I'd rather eat cat shit with a knitting needle than bust my ass sending some cops' kids to college. And I was like, that's a great line. I forget his name. He's a very prolific actor and voice actor as well. Forget his name. Dead Presidents, great flick. Anyway, so that's where druthers comes from. It's an old Southern term coined in the late 19th century. Here's an interesting word, cockthrottled. What's funny is that, to this day, I will, when I type that word in, the little red squiggly line comes in and word is like, that's not a real word. That's got to be something dirty, And I remember that happened when I wrote my very first book, very first Exit 13 book, because I used the word cockthrottled to describe a teenager in one of my stories. And cockthrottled simply means like a very prominent Adam's apple kind of person. And what it really represents is once like a teenage boy really sprouts and he becomes real long and lean, and he's got his Adam's apple sticking out, and his voice is changing a little bit, he talks like Shaggy, something like that, and he's got this big Adam's apple. That's cockthrottled. That's what that means. It's like an instant descriptor. It paints a picture of what the person looks like. And so, but the very first time I typed it in, I do the spell check on my book, and it's like cockthrottled. That's not a real word. That sounds dirty, bro. So I said, trust me, it's a word. I found it in the dictionary. It's a word. You remember dictionaries? They're books that actually, don't get changed every week. And so, yeah, that's where cockthrottled comes from. I know it sounds dirty, but hey, there's lots of dirty sounding words that people use every day. So, speaking of, how about blowing smoke up your ass? I think I've mentioned this. I know I've mentioned this on the show before, but blowing smoke up your ass comes from the time before like real science, when people would consult your humors. And it's like, what's your sign? Oh, you're drowning. Are you a Taurus? Are you a Taurus? You're an Aries. Aries, we got an Aries who's drowning, so there's a specific treatment for that. But usually this prescribed treatment for drowning was to pull the person out of the water and then blow smoke up their ass. Seriously. So you pull somebody out of the water. It's like, I need a long tube to shove in this man's butt and a cigar. And I'm going to start blowing smoke into his butt until he starts breathing. I will say something about the Greyjoys over the Iron Islands. You at least had a chance when it come to drowning, They would pull you out of the water and say, all right, air's here. They wouldn't just put you face down when you're drowning and start shoving stuff up your butt. So that's where blowing smoke up your ass comes from. There's one more word I heard last night, as a matter of fact, on Timcast IRL, and that's the word scuttlebutt. And it also sounds a little dirty, Actually, when you consider what scuttle means. Scuttle means to put a hole in, and you put a hole in the butt. Yes, that's exactly what scuttlebutt means. You put a hole in the butt. Now, if you've seen any like pirate movies or Navy movies or anything like that, the word scuttle means to put a hole in or to sink, like a ship. We're going to scuttle the ship, or we've been scuttled, we got a hole below the water line. We're going down, it's that kind of thing. But yes, scuttlebutt sounds dirty. It means to put a hole in the butt, but you also got to understand that the word butt also means something different. Butt means a barrel, like what you see in movies. It's like there's always a bunch of barrels. Some barrels have water in it, some have food in it, etc. This barrel has flour. This one has gold dust or something, so that's what butts were. And so when you scuttle the butt, that means that you put a hole in it, and you usually put like a hole in a water barrel, and then you plug it up and people come by and get water. And it was basically the watering hole on any ship. So anyone would come by and they're like, here's their butt. We already scuttled it. This is the scuttlebutt area. And so you just pull the little cork out and you get your little water ration, and everyone sits around, they get their water and they talk. It's the water cooler of the Navy. And so scuttlebutt now refers to rumors, the rumor mill, scuttlebutt. That's where that comes from. There's something else in like the Army and the Marine Corps, because they don't, there's something else they call it, like Johnny Rumor or something like that, private rumor. I don't know. It's dumber. It's dumbed down. Marine Corps and Army. Sorry, vets. I know you want to kick my ass, but a lot of people tried. A lot of people succeeded. So that's about a little bit I want to talk about with the words today. I don't really understand why people love football so much. Every football season comes around, every single year around this time. All the idiots in the world have so much to say. They have so much to say, and their conversations are so tedious and boring and nightmarish. And I get to the point where I look forward to this show, because sometimes you get like around these dumb people and all they talk about is like football and cars. And I'm not into either of those things. And so they're just sitting there talking about nothing but football and cars. And you're just like, how much longer is my life? And it's just so tedious to me. I don't know why I'm so like mean in that way. It's like, but dumb people are just so nightmarishly difficult to talk to or listen to. And, I guess that's a little bit of cruelty to me. It's like, I'm only stimulated by stimulating conversations. Like I want to talk about, stuff that's happening. I want to talk about, I want to crack jokes and stuff like that. But all you're doing is talking about what you plan to do to your car this weekend. Ugh. And you're going to be watching football. Tell me more about the football you'll be watching while you're working on your car this weekend. It just gets so chatty around this time of year, and it's nightmarish for me. Please understand. I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that, but baseball is just so much better as a sport. And it's really, ratcheting up right now. It's postseason baseball is more interesting than preseason football, if you ask me. And I think it has to do with the fact that you can see the players' faces in baseball. I think what I really love about baseball is when a player hits a ball and it goes right back to the mound, and the pitcher reflexively puts up his glove to defend himself because he thinks he's about to die, and he ends up catching the ball. right? And then the camera zooms in on him and the infield, and they all look at each other. It's like, I caught it. And they're like, yeah, you did. It's like even the guy who caught it is surprised. It's like every now and then you'll get somebody who makes a catch and he's like, yeah, of course I made it. But if you're in like especially the infield and you catch a zoomer that coming straight at you and you come up with it and you're like, hey, I caught it. And people are like, yeah, you did. And everyone's surprised. Everyone in the entire stadium is surprised that you did that. And so I think that that's really cool is you can see their faces. You can see them the reactions and stuff like that. Additionally, the interactions that go on first and second base are priceless. They are priceless. When a guy comes sliding into second, right, and the ball comes in right after, and the second baseman will apply the tag to him, and the guy's, he's like, I'm touching the bag, I'm maintaining on the second base, but I'm getting up. But the guy with the ball just keep patting him and patting him. It's like, take your foot off, take your foot off, take your foot off. And you see them laughing at each other, and you're reminded that this is just a game. This is just a silly game for children, which we all are, in many ways. But football is way too serious. It's like, you get that first down. You get it or I'll hate you forever. I mean, you hear that kind of language in football, but in baseball, it's just like, did you see that catch? I can't believe I caught that. How'd you make that jump? It was like, I don't know. Anyway, I find that more interesting than most anything else. It's like, then especially football, especially like cars. I mean, I don't get it. I'm just like, I don't know. It's hard being intelligent and arrogant at the same time. All right, one more thing before we get into the coast through the news. It's something that Matt Walsh said on one of his shows a couple weeks ago, and it's been rattling around in my brain, really kind of messing with the way I think. And it's something to the effect of that. Depression and anxiety are reasonable and natural reactions to the horrors of life. It's something like that. And that concept has been like knocking around in my brain for a while. And I'm kind of angry about it. And I'm angry because of all the therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists that I've seen in my life. Not one of them ever said anything like that to me. I wish that they had. I really do wish that they had. Because the entire time, it's like I got this depression. I want to get around people. I'm anxious and I'm afraid I'm going to say something stupid. And I often do because I'm nervous, and everyone thinks I'm crazy. They call me the madman, And so it's, they just will write me a prescription for a pill or something like that. And a lot of them didn't work until recently. And, and then, I would stop taking them because I wouldn't, it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't work right. Or I'd get weird. I'd just sit in my room all day smoking cigarettes. It was bad. It was a difficult time, but no one ever said something like that to me, that depression and anxiety are natural reactions to the horrors of life. All right. Especially if you're intelligent enough to understand all the dangers swirling around us at any given second. You know what I mean? And so, that has meant more to me in many ways is like treating myself with depression. It made me feel like normal. Because the whole time I was like, because I have this depression, because I have this anxiety, I'm not normal. There's something wrong with me. That's why I have to take a pill to feel more normal. But no, depression and anxiety are normal reaction to the horrors of life. You've experienced horrors in life before, haven't you? Of course you have. You know what? And you don't have to be that smart to understand that there are horrors in life we're all going to face. You don't have to be quite that intelligent to understand that our time is finite. We are all going to die. All of us are going to die. None of what we do will really matter for most of us. And you're probably going to watch most of the people around you that you love die. You're going to, and those that you don't see die, it's because you died first. And you're going to have your heart broken. You're going to break other people's hearts. There's nothing but pain in store for all of us. But what makes the difference is having the courage to face all that and look at the positive side. And maybe there was something wrong with me if most of the world could live under the threat, under that constant threat throughout their entire lives, claiming not to have depression or anxiety. When really it's just courage. It's having the courage to know you're going to have to face all that, and you're going to have to face it with a smile. I can't think of anything that has made me feel more normal and like really help my cognitive behavioral therapy. Say, looking at, watching how I feel and stuff like that. Because, I get down. I know what's coming in the future. We're all going to see our own bodies fail us. And we're all going to die. And we're, 200 years from now, no one will even remember our names. My YouTube channel will be forgotten in the cacophony that the internet will become. And that's okay. It's okay. It's like, I listened to a song, Blind Melon, Change. Great tune. And there's a line in it. It's like, if you feel your life ain't worth living, you got to take a look around, look up into the sky, and your deepest thoughts are broken. When if you stop dreaming, boy, then if you stop dreaming, it's time to die. And then it's, as I fade away, they'll all look at me and say, oh, I forget the line. He leads up to, so I'm going to write my words on the face of today. And I really like that line. I'm going to write my words on the face of today. And that's what I'm doing. This is what the YouTube channel is all about, is I want to write my words on the face of today. As fleeting as it is, as meaningless as it might be. This is the time for it. This is the time for us. This is our time. All right? It's the only time we got, so we got to take charge of it. We got to take charge of it and make it work for us. We have awful things coming in our lives, but we have our friends and family to lean on. And if anything matters in our lifetimes, it's our relationships with each other. So, so this concept, the fact that depression and anxiety are just a simple, reasonable reaction to the horrors we're all going to face, that has made me feel so much better just thinking about it that way. All right, let's do a quick News Worth Knowing segment here. It's kind of a slow news week, so we'll just we'll kind of coast through the news, take it chill. I know it kind of got heavy there at times. Let's just be chill. Hey, rest in peace, Angela Lansbury. Quite a looker, even when she was older. Good looking lady.
The fact that she got through it without getting murdered, amazing.
She never got murdered. That's a good point. Obviously, you know her from Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. And if you know her from anything else, you probably don't watch this show. So,
Murder, She Wrote, I made the pun right there.
I know you made the pun, but people who watch Murder, She Wrote don't watch this show. If you watch Murder, She Wrote, go ahead and comment. And you watch the comments. No one's going to say, I watch Murder, She Wrote. And if they do, you're a liar. You're a liar. But, rest in peace, Angela Lansbury. She's a very prolific actress. Rest in peace. All right, let's talk about the most important news today. The Durham probe. The FBI offered Christopher Steele $1 million to corroborate Trump allegations and dossier. This is unbelievable. Is that cordite? I think I smell a smoking gun. Is that a smoking gun? The FBI offered ex-British intelligence agent Christopher Steele $1 million to corroborate salacious allegations made in his dossier against former President Donald Trump and members of his 2016 campaign, but he was unable to do so, an FBI official testified Tuesday. You mean he was unable to do so? Okay. So FBI Supervisory Counterintelligence Analyst Brian Auten was the first witness in the trial of Igor Danchenko, the Russian national who served as a primary subsource for Steele's anti-Trump dossier. And has been charged with 5 counts of making false statements to the Bureau. Auten testified that he and a group of FBI agents went overseas in early October 2021 to speak with Steele about the dossier. During questioning with Special Counsel John Durham on Tuesday, Auten said that those meetings with the FBI offered Steele $1 million if he would corroborate allegations in the dossier. Auten testified that Steele could not do so. Cheapers. So, yeah, I think everyone is starting to realize that the FBI has a corrupt element in it. A lot of people who say like defund the feds, and it's like, no, we need the feds. There are like interstate prosecutions that need to be, arrests and prosecutions that need to be made. But I think anybody who's been like acting as a political agent in the FBI, I think they need to go. Simple as that. Simple as that. And so I don't know how you go about doing that, but maybe we'll get a president who will come in and figure it out. God knows Biden can't figure something out like that. I did that bit earlier about with Biden. It's like he couldn't speak that coherently. That's all what I was saying. It's like, if you listen to that quote and you were thinking for a second, not that my voice is Biden is convincing at all, but if you thought for a second that Biden couldn't construct a statement like that off the top of his head, you were out of your mind. It's like, that doesn't sound anything like something Biden would say. Anyway, let's talk about this awful, awful, awful person. All right, Florida CEO in storm of controversy after telling staff to report to the office as Hurricane Ian approached land. The CEO of a marketing agency based in Clearwater, Florida, that's right near Tampa, all right, right in the bullseye, you know what I mean? Sent texts and appeared to downplay Hurricane Ian's impact, encouraging her staff to bring their pets and kids into the office so they wouldn't miss work. The Tampa Bay Times reported recently. Joy Gendusa, head of PostcardMania, apparently sent the text to employees the Monday before the powerful storm hit, a storm that originally forecast to hit the Tampa Bay area directly, potentially causing up to 10 feet storm surge, as I said the same outlet. Quote, I've lived here for over 30 years. There's always been more hype in the media than any storm has ever hit here. PostcardMania is the best place to be, Gendusa said, as text messages obtained from the publication indicated. Workers were expected to come to the office to continue the service to our national clients. Employees are also told there will be movies and fun for the children. It's super strong. Bring your pets if you feel the need. I doubt in the end you will really need to. The text from Gendusa said, according to the Times. We are not closing. We are working, she also wrote. By Tuesday, however, she reportedly changed her mind. PostcardMania soon announced its headquarters would be closed on Wednesday and Thursday in order to turn the building into a hurricane shelter for employees. I guess she was going to combine the two. She was like, well, if they're going to be here anyway, might as well put them to work, right? So, this is like what I was talking about earlier. You think it's so important, your whatever PostcardMania is, whatever that is, you think that is so important. All that stuff is just so important. It's like Ripley at the beginning of Aliens 2. She's in there and she's explaining, they're like, yeah, okay, these big monsters killed your entire crew, whatever. Right? And then she rants at them. It's like, if just one of these things gets in here, then all this bullshit that you think is so important doesn't mean anything. And that's kind of the point. It's like, this is PostcardMania. Whatever the hell that is, it's not that important. All right? What you do for your career is not that important. Okay? Unless you're literally saving lives every single day. What you're doing is not that important. And it reminds me of if you ever seen a movie called Envy. It's a Jack Black, Ben Stiller movie, and Ben Stiller has this like breakdown at work, and I love it. It's a really good rant because he comes in, his boss like confronts him, is like, yeah, your performance has really been slipping. Is there anything going on? What's up with that? And Ben Stiller just kind of breaks slowly over a period. It's really a good rant, but he's sitting there, he's talking, he's like, every day I go to work. And I see him on his horse, rearing up, saying goodbye. And, I go to work. I come here every day. I come here to do what? To make sandpaper. I make sandpaper. I put sand on paper. You know, you should have that kind of like healthy cynicism of what we really do. I mean, that guy works for 3M, and 3M's a big company. You make good money, make it sandpaper because people hate splinters. That's why sandpaper is important. But today, all he can see is the fact that it's just sand on paper, And it's okay to have that kind of healthy cynicism about how important you think what you do is. All right? It's a freaking hurricane coming, lady. Take a day off. Holy cow. All right, let's go to this next story, which is somewhat serious. I don't know if you've been following what's been going on in Iran lately, but I think this is kind of interesting because if you don't know, women have been like walking around with so you can see their faces in Iran and more. So there's some crazy stuff going on in Iran, and if you care about women's rights at all, you wouldn't be dyeing your hair blue and whining about things in America. You'd be more focused on stories like this. All right, so Iran, I guess, enforces open fire on schoolgirls as regime prepares for crackdown on Kurdish protesters. So members of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps allegedly opened fire on, quote, schoolgirls chanting anti-regime slogans on Wednesday. The IGRC, Republican Guard Corps, is Iran's most brutal weapon against protesters outraged at the death of the 20-year-old Mahsa Amini at the hands of the country's morality police. Unrest has been the most prevalent in the Kurdish regions of Iran, and the regime is now preparing for a brutal crackdown on Sananadaj, the region's capital. Regime and forces have killed hundreds of demonstrators across the country since Amini's death last month. The Hengal Organization for Human Rights says the IRGC troops killed 5 and wounded 400 with machine gun fire and other violence throughout northern regions of Kurdish regions this week. Whew. There are places in this world where human rights are really, really in danger. So all of you out here protesting the streets thinking that America is the place that needs to be fixed. In many ways it does. I mean, you need to get rid of all this mentality it's so awful here. When when Iran's government is mowing down civilians. And have you seen Persian women? Have you seen an Iranian woman who escaped that place and has made herself up? Holy cow. They are gorgeous. They are ridiculously gorgeous. They're so hot that you're this is how it started. It's that woman is so hot, we have to cover her up all the time because I won't be able to get anything. I won't be able to get anything done. And it's kind of why I don't subscribe to Megyn Kelly's show. It's too distracting. You're so hot, it's distracting. I mean, I want to pay attention to the news, but I'm just I want to make out with you. I feel what's his name? Joe Namath in that one. I want to kiss you. Yeah, I want to kiss you. It's distracting. Anyway, but I hope things get better for the people of Iran. It's like China. It's I don't hate Chinese people. I hate their stupid government that oppresses them. It's the same with Iran. It's why can't you just let these people be? Anyway, let's go to this next story. I want to coast through the news here. Florida grandfather charged after rental car employee discovers toddler left behind in vehicle. Wonderful. This Florida man, grandfather, has been charged with 1 count of child neglect after allegedly leaving his granddaughter in a rental car he returned to the Daytona Beach International Airport. The girl, just under 2 years old, yeah. Maybe you heard EK grunt, but yeah, that ouch. Was in the hot vehicle Monday for at least 45 minutes, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office said. Grandfather, 62-year-old David Towner, made his first court appearance on Tuesday afternoon, according to Fox 35 of Orlando. 62. How old is Biden? How old is Biden? 79 years. So, this guy's got our country. Do you feel like maybe he left us in the back of a rental car he returned? I kind of get that feeling. So the deputies were alerted to the incident by a Hertz rental car employee around 6 p.m. Monday. Yeah, if you're working at Hertz, and you find a baby left in a car, and you're like, should I just call the customers? Hey, you left a baby here. It's not like a wallet you left behind, you know? That's what you do if you found a wallet. It's like, I found your wallet, sir. I found your bong. You left your bong in the trunk. You can give them a call for that. But when you leave a baby, you need to call the cops, right? So, I mean, yeah. So, good call. You know, I don't want to say like maybe old people shouldn't be driving, but maybe old people shouldn't be driving. Have you seen Joe Biden walking? You've seen something like it, right? You know, it kind of like it walks like George Burns with his hands out, you know? Ugh, where's the children at? Release the hounds and catch the children. You know? I wonder how many Biden costumes we're going to, like scary Biden costumes we're going to see this year. Anyway. Don't leave your kids in the car, idiot. All right. Two lighter stories before we get out of here. I got things to do. Maine lobster fishermen hire ex-DOJ official to challenge new whale laws. Are you a fisherman if you only fish lobster? Wouldn't it be like crustaceaning? Anyway, semantics. I know, semantics. Sea spider hunter. I like that one better. Maine lobster fishermen have hired a former high-ranking U.S. Department of Justice official to represent them in their case against new laws intended to protect whales. The Maine Lobstermen's Association is appealing its case against the new rules to the U.S. Court of Appeals of the District of Columbia Circuit. The group said Tuesday it has hired Paul Clement, who served as U.S. Solicitor General from 2004 to 2008 to represent it in the case. The Solicitor General supervises all Supreme Court litigation for the U.S., and Clement has argued dozens of cases in front of the High Court, where the lobstermen's case could ultimately be headed, he said on Tuesday. The new fishing restrictions have pushed the industry to the brink of collapse, Clement said. You have administrative overreach. This is a quote. The implications are easy to understand. It directly threatens really one of the most iconic American industries. Everyone who has ever enjoyed a lobster can appreciate this. The lobster fishermen sued the National Marine Fisheries Service, and in September, a judge denied their request to stop the regulators from placing new restrictions on fishing. The restrictions were designed to protect the North Atlantic right whale, you mean white whale, which numbers less than 340 and is vulnerable to entangling in fishing gear. The Fisheries Service has declined to comment on the lawsuit. Maine Lobstermen's Association also filed court papers on Tuesday asking for appeal to be expedited because of the jeopardy posed by the fishery, the new restrictions of where and how they can fish. Environmental groups have pushed for stronger protections from the right whales, which were devastated generations ago during the commercial whaling era. Generations ago, by the way. The groups made their case in court. The federal government should be doing more to protect the whales. All right, whatever. But it's lobsters. The American lobster fishery is based mostly in Maine, though lobsters also come to the docks elsewhere in New England and in New York and New Jersey. New York and New Jersey are New England, right? Why would you say New England and in New York, New Jersey?
I think maybe New England is all above New York.
I thought New Jersey and New York were part of New England.
I never called New Jersey New England.
Okay. I'm dumb then. Anyway, U.S. lobsters were worth a record figure of more than $900 million at the docks last year. That's a lot of lobster. Yeah, so first of all, you have to understand, people in Maine are serious about lobster. And if you don't know that, you should probably check out Maine because they're serious about lobster. And people do love lobster. The people used to like whale, but then they became controversial, as they say, generations ago. But here's the thing about mammals like dolphin and whales is that they're smart enough to know what we're doing and to get the hell out of the way. And if these conservationists want to do something to help the whales and the dolphins and stuff like that who get caught in this fishing gear, What they should do is talk to all these fishermen and stuff like that, saying something like that. We will replace the cost of like any equipment you lose if you start snagging like dolphin, you know, if you start snagging a whale in your fishing gear, if you start snagging a whale or a dolphin in your fishing gear, cut it all loose and we'll refund you, we'll replace it for you at no cost to you. That seems like a more reasonable response, because these dumbass fish mammals, they should know enough to see, oh, that ship's coming around, it's got nets, it's trying to catch something other than me. They're mammals. It's lobsters. The difference between intelligence are way, way different between lobsters and dolphin and lobsters and whales. They're pretty smart creatures, not the lobsters. Lobsters are dumb. Anyway, so Maine takes its lobsters seriously. Now, here's something that, I don't know, probably could have been plucked from my nightmares, but is really quite a lovely story when you just put it into a headline. But I don't think anyone really wants to go through this. Devoted son spends 11 hours rescuing his disabled mother from Hurricane Ian. Now, I don't know about you, but the real heroic part here is spending 11 hours with your mother. That is amazing. All right, so let's do the story, then we'll make fun of it. A devoted son and former Chicago police officer heroically spent 11 hours rescuing his disabled mother from Hurricane Ian as floodwaters filled her home. Johnny Lauder joined Fox and Friends first Thursday to discuss the rescue and shows how he was able to get his wheelchair-bound mother and another hurricane victim to safety in Naples, Florida. Quote, once the storm water started coming in, it was about 4 feet of water on the side of my son's house. Wow. And that's when we knew it was time was of the essence, and I made sure we were safe and dry. I made sure they were safe and dry. He told the co-host Carly Shimkus. They went up in the attic crawl space to get away with a way to get out of the roof if need be, and I jumped out the window, started making my trek to help Mom. Lauder said that his mother, who was 84 years old, refused to evacuate, but luckily he was down the street at his son's home when the storm conditions began to escalate. He knew he needed to spring into action as floodwaters rose several feet high, so he began to trek through the water all the way to his mother's house, where he heard her screaming. Oh, my Lord. Quote, I had to go through the window. She was shaking. I didn't want her to go into hypothermia, Lauder said. She was happy to see me. Believe it or not, she doesn't have teeth, but she was smiling. Oh, never been happier to see me, he said. Lauder said he rescued another victim needing assistance as they left the home, said his mother is doing better and currently in the hospital recovering. He and his mother both lost homes in the storm, and a GoFundMe page has been set up to aid the family in the aftermath and has raised more than $24,000. Lauder was touched by the overwhelming support. Quote, it's overwhelming. My eyes start sweating when this happens, he said. Oh, that's sweet. Makes my eyeballs rain. To think people would help us that do not know us. And there's so many other people out there that need more help than we do. It's just an overwhelming gratitude. It's a very sweet story, but imagine spending 11 hours with your mother. Pulling up old stuff. It's just like when you got your head caught in a railing, isn't it? It's just like when you super glued your hands together, isn't it? It's and he's like, you better go help that woman. You leave me here. You go help that other woman. Then come back and get both of us and take us both out of here. What kind of son did I raise? It's a heroic Herculean effort to spend 11 hours rescuing your disabled mother with no teeth. Should we get your teeth, Mom? Nah, we'll get some more later. It's not that important. Anyway, so this is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you again, if you didn't catch the drift at the beginning of the show, to go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio, become a patron. I would appreciate that very much. If you want to send me money through Cash App, there's hashtag shockmonkeyradio. Send me money that way. You can go ahead and follow me on social media at @DenaltSaw, which is the word wasteland spelled backwards on Twitter, Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and SLRobbins13 on Instagram. I would appreciate that. Also, you can buy my books, which are available for digital download on Amazon.com. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's, or you can follow the links down in the description below. Yeah, be sure to like, share, and subscribe on my videos, my clips, and stuff like that. You know, hit the bell icon so you get notifications when we go live. Because, you know, I'll be unpredictable. I'll be, oh, we're going to start a half hour early. Oh, we're going to start a half hour late. Because I do things, I do what I want. I'm a big girl now. I do what I want. Isn't that like in so many songs? Yeah, that's been sampled so many times. Anyway, this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.